Hey, it's Luke from LT Gaming, and today we've got something very cool to announce, because the team over at Impeller Studios have selected us to officially reveal the early access release date for In the Black. Ooh, I'm getting all excited even thinking about it. Calm down, Luke, calm down. And yes, after years in development, years of waiting, years of people wondering whether this incredibly hardcore space combat sim would ever actually make it across the line, what a build-up that was. In the Black is finally launching into early access on May 5th. But stick around in this video because we're going to break it down, what will be available, the technical analysis, and all the good stuff coming up. It's really exciting for us to do this. Me and Tom often reference the lyrics from the Enterprise theme song. It's been a long road getting from there to here. We sing it, but I can't sing, so I won't do it. But that really applies to LT Gaming and In the Black. And if you want your finger on the pulse of space gaming, this is the place to be, and this proves it. So like the video, subscribe to the channel, you will not regret it. So a quick recap before we get into the main stuff. In the Black is a hardcore space combat simulator from Impeller Studios. Set around 200 years in the future, where you play as a private military contractor fighting corporate wars across the solar system. I think that's what a lot of us do in our day jobs, right? The big hook is that this is not an arcade space shooter. You're not banking through space like an aircraft, casually slowing down because the game feels like being nice to you. This is a game about inertia, momentum, heat, propellant, sensors, power management, and the deeply inconvenient fact that space does not care about your cinematic dogfighting fantasies. You're essentially flying nuclear-powered combat spacecraft armed with lasers, missiles, cannons, railguns, and other terrifying bits of future military hardware, taking part in single-player contract missions, simulator training, and online arena combat. Me and Tom are going to be playing the team next week, we hope, in a live match, so make sure to stick around for that also. Basically, you find out here, if space combat was fast, violent, tactical, and built around actual physics rather than magic, what would it look like? You really get those hardcore Expanse vibes with this one. The reason this game stands out is because it's aiming to be a very specific fantasy that a lot of space sim fans have wanted for years, that proper hard sci-fi combat feel. It has that grounded industrial Expanse-style flavour where missiles matter, railguns are terrifying, heat is most certainly a problem, never an issue in Ireland, I'll say that, and your spacecraft feels less like a magical space plane and more like a very expensive powered coffin with engines. Bit of a grim way of looking at it, but why not? Your movement is built around thrust, inertia, momentum, and available propellant. If you accelerate hard in one direction, and you're all going to learn this lesson if you play the game, you don't just casually stop because the game feels like being nice to you. You need to reverse burn, manage your velocity, and think ahead before you arrive somewhere at deeply irresponsible speeds. It's difficult for sure, but in a way that can make every successful maneuver feel great. When you line up a shot, survive a missile pass, and somehow come out the other side alive, it doesn't feel like the game handed you a win, it feels like you actually pulled it off. For early access, the game is launching with a pretty solid spread of modes. The headline multiplayer mode is BloodSport, which is the arena-style combat side of the game, featuring assault, conquest, and team deathmatch, with support for up to 5 versus 5 battles. That's probably where a lot of the most intense moments are going to happen, because this kind of flight model should make PvP genuinely fascinating. I played with the team a few times, and I actually did pretty well if I remember correctly, and had an absolute blast. And it's not just about who can aim faster. I mean, I can't stand those modern games where you just basically twitch around the place with your reactions trying to kill people. I mean, it drives me nuts. It's about who understands movement, positioning, momentum, and how to force the other pilot into a bad situation. In other words, it's less about who has the twitchiest trigger finger, and more who accidentally turn themselves into a drifting target at several kilometers per second. But there's also single player content here, which is important. Contract mode gives you a range of mission types, including things like debris sweep, drone sweep, interdiction, raid, recon, search and destroy, ship strike, and station defense. That gives the game a much broader feel than just multiplayer arenas. And for players who want to learn the systems without being immediately vaporized, that is very welcome. You know, there's going to be guys who've already mapped out their entire HOTAS who are just flying around destroying you. Sometimes you just want single player to just take on the AI and give them a good hiding. And I'm very glad to see that here. There's also simulator mode, which includes basic flight and combat tutorials, which are pretty good, I have to say. I got back up to speed this morning very quickly on them. Plus free flight, onboarding, instant action, and proving grounds. And for a game like this, the tutorial side, like I said, really matters. You need the game to teach you how its systems work. because the fun comes from slowly realizing that the weird, difficult, slightly terrifying flight model is the whole point. On the ship side, early access includes 5 unique space fighter classes, each with multiple variants. You've got light fighters like the Shrike and Colibri, if that's how you say it, medium fighters like the Reyes, heavy fighters like the Hyperion, and the Pegasus assault transport. And because this is a game about systems, you're not just picking a pretty spaceship and calling it a day. The ship editor lets you customize loadouts, appearance, and even the name of your fighters, which is really welcome. Call sign Skyblade, I reckon, if I can get it. It's funny how me and Tom both kept our game names from when we were like 10 years old. He's Trax Darkstorm and I'm Skyblade, and my wife's like, what are you talking about now? Who are you? It's got to be a running joke on LT Gaming at this stage that my wife really has no idea that we do all this and just carries on oblivious. The battlescapes in this game are really beautiful and nicely varied, with locations around Mars, the asteroid belt, Saturn, Titus, and Enceladus. That's the environment you really want from a solar system combat sandbox. Military encounters basically in recognizable, hostile, but beautiful parts of our own solar neighborhood. On the technical side, In the Black is clearly being built for the serious sim crowd. Mouse and keyboard is there and it's the way that I play, but the game is also aiming to support gamepads, Steam Deck, HOTAS, HOSAS, ultra-wide monitors, and eventually head and eye tracking. The HOTAS side is especially important because in a game built around realistic thrust, rotation, weapons, and situational awareness, input feel can make or break the experience. And there's a lot of hardcore space simmers in our Discord who tell us about how immersive this is. Now, I used to run a full setup, but because I play so many games, I moved towards a slightly more casual approach, and it suits me at this stage. But overall, good controller support is the difference between feeling like you're flying a lethal spacecraft and feeling like you're losing a fistfight with your joystick. Virtual reality is also one to watch. Impeller have said VR is working in test builds, but they want to refine it before opening that up properly to players. But it's great to see that they actually care about that. A game like this in VR could be absolutely incredible, the cockpit, the scale, the 3D positioning, and that feeling of drifting through darkness while something launches missiles at you from a direction you really should have been watching. They've also discussed and touched upon future modding potential, which could be huge for a hard sci-fi combat platform if the community eventually gets the tools to build missions, scenarios, and their own takes on realistic space warfare. The main caveat within the Black is also the thing that makes it interesting. This is not going to be for everyone. It's a realistic, physics-driven space combat sim, so it may feel difficult, strange, or punishing at first if you're used to space games where ships behave more like aircraft. Your first few hours may involve a lot of drifting sideways, overcorrecting, and realizing that Newtonian movement is less cinematic ace pilot, and more why am I still traveling directly into the problem? But that difficulty is also the appeal, so I really appeal to you guys to give the game a chance, even if you think it might not be for you. There's an extremely rewarding loop here that's going to hook you. And finally, a game that does something different. We should be rewarding this, and I really can't wait to get my hands on it and play some of you. And also, the advantage of early access here is the community can help shape the onboarding, balance, UX, progression, and combat feel. I think working with this team during early access is actually going to be a lot of fun, and although some people are against that system, I do think this is going to be an enjoyable ride. I won't do a long comparison section here, but I was recently playing Infinity Battlescape, a very promising game, but really has no player base, and I'm not sure where they're taking that project. Then on the space sim side, you have something like Helium Rain, which has that Newtonian flight model, but is a bit of a different game and is now free if you want to try it out, but it will give you a feeling for that type of movement. But overall, I feel like In the Black is really landing with its own unique premise here. So guys, that's In the Black, and the big news is of course that it finally launches into early access on May 5th. It's been a long journey for the team and also for LT Gaming, but we all are finally getting to where we need to be. And I will say relationships count for something, and these guys are a really strong team, and I've enjoyed working with them. They really are a joy to speak to and really interesting people. So I'd suggest giving early access a chance and working with this team to make the game even better than it already is. And no, to clarify, we were not paid for this video. This is a passion project like a lot of what we do here at LT Gaming. So if you guys have been waiting for a game like In the Black, it's finally here. I've been Luke from LT Gaming. Like, comment and subscribe, we really appreciate it, and I'll catch you on the next one.